Welcome, everyone, to the 18th ever episode of the Up and Thrown podcast. I'm your host, Cole Houck. Today, once again, blessed to be joined by my good friend, Austin Greene. Very, very happy Wizards fan again. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, man. It's mock draft season. The draft's right around the corner. The Wizards got the number one pick. There's a lot to be excited about.
I know, man. I've never done a mock draft before either. I've been doing like sort of big boards, I guess, for my Raptors for a couple years now. This is my first time finally taking a deeper look into the depth of the draft and take a look and see what I want everybody to do for each team. So super excited. You've done mock drafts before, though, haven't you?
Yeah, in the past, I'd done a few back when I was doing more independent writing stuff. I only really did lottery mock drafts, though, just because, me as a 14, 15-year-old didn't really have the bandwidth to be doing a full first round. But looking back, they were some pretty accurate mock drafts in the scheme of things. My 2021 mock draft was just about to the T of how the actual order went, minus flipping Jalen Suggs and Scotty Barnes, which everyone had flipped at the time compared to the actual order. And then looking back at my 2020 mock draft, I had Denny Avdia going number 2 to the Warriors, which looking back, that aged quite well. And, I think he'd probably be doing pretty good on the actual Warriors right now. But alas, he's doing good things with the Blazers. And then I had Tyrese Halliburton going 6 to the Hawks instead of 12th to the Sacramento Kings. So that was another solid pull from back in the day.
Dude, that's a fun thought, actually. I'll be on the Warriors with Steph Curry. They would still have Klay Thompson in this perfect world, too, where they just got the spacing around him. That'd be a lot of fun to watch.
For sure. And then as Steph slowly aged out, you could give more of the ball handling responsibility to Avdia. Or even as he's still in his late prime, you have Avdia as the main ball handler and driver, and you have just surround him with shooters, like some of the best shooters to ever play the game. Like that could be a really fun, kind of scary team.
Yeah, I think so. But that's a different timeline. We're not living in this one right now. We're living in mock draft. Draft's gonna be in 3 days. It's June 23rd. It's my sister's birthday. Shout out to her. I'm really excited for this, man. Like I said, I've just never done one of these, and I think it's gonna be a ton of fun to get into. So, the way I got it set up here, I'm gonna be doing the odd picks, and you're gonna do the even picks. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Sweet, sweet. So we're using Fanspo here. First time using this as well. I've never used this for a mock. I've used it for trades, obviously, in the past, but not using mock draft simulator. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna try and take it easy best I can. First overall pick for your Washington Wizards. I know it's weird taking your pick, but trust, I'm gonna let you talk. We agree on this pick. I'm taking AJ Divansa for your Wizards. How do you feel about AJ coming to the team?
I feel like it's the right pick. Not necessarily. I think it's the obvious pick, but given all of the speculation that's come around in the last few days about Darren Peterson not working out for any other teams and how apparently just about every analytics department in the NBA has Cam Boozer as the number one overall pick, it's not that he's necessarily the obvious choice, but just in my mind, he really fits the needs of the current Wizards well. And he's a guy that you can market as a franchise superstar and a role model for the kids in the city that are fans of the team. Darren Peterson is a much more introverted guy. He's a little bit more of a loner. He's not a vocal leader the way the other guys are. And that's okay. Everyone has different personality types. But if you're the Wizards, you're looking for a guy that can be your franchise cornerstone. And I think DeBonsa brings a lot more of that energy to the table than Peterson does. And, he's like 6'10". He can do it all. He's got the body of like a 26-year-old. And I think he slots in really well with Trae Young at the point, with some of the other pieces they have around him, like Trey Johnson, Block Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, and then hopefully Anthony Davis, assuming he doesn't get traded, and Alex Sarr as well. So I just think it's going to be a really fun group. And for the first time in a while, you're going to have competitive, fun basketball to watch in Washington, which is, speaking for a lot of Wizards fans, something that has been long overdue and something we're very excited for.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch that Wizards team next year. Just with even like if Trae Young gets moved or Anthony Davis, I know there's little rumors you don't really want to talk about here and there. People are overblowing this whole Trae Young thing, by the way. I don't know how
Yes.
you feel
Eh,
about Trae Young, like getting traded or whatever, but either way, if he's on the roster or not, y'all are good. Y'all are totally fine. Like you gave up Corey Kispert and expiring CJ McCollum. So like whatever happens, it's still fine as a result for the Wizards fans,
yes.
I
With
feel like.
with Anthony Davis, it's a little less clear if we're going to trade him or not and what we're going to get back. Trey is going to stay on the Wizards. There, I think, was the understanding in place when he was traded to the team that he would opt out of the player option that he had and then sign a 3-year deal with the team, sort of like stabilizing his commitment to the franchise, but also the franchise's commitment to him as well. So I'm really not worried about him leaving. It's just a question of if Anthony Davis is convinced to stay or if the Wizards end up having a good offer for him. But I'm not really sure what his trade value looks like right now.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I will say as well, we'll get back to the mock here in a second. We're not gonna have any trades in this, but I feel like it's worth at least mentioning where I think trades could potentially happen. Not gonna project them in a. I don't even know how to put it in this simulation to be honest. I haven't looked into it yet, but I think there is an interesting thought that the Wizards could trade down for this pick and Ace Bailey or whatever that looks like. Would you be happy to trade down and potentially still get AJ Dibanza or even Darren Peterson at number two?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say is we don't know for sure the Wizards are gonna take AJ. They very well could take Darren Peterson, but my thought is that the Jazz definitely want AJ between the superstar potential and all the Utah connection. So if they decide Darren's the guy they want, I'd imagine they trade down to number two, and that way they can just extract more value and then still get the guy that they want. So I could very well see that happening. But I think honestly, one of the big targets you have to monitor trade wise is that fifth pick with the Clippers. I think that's probably the first one where there really could be a serious trade that comes into place, especially since Los Angeles didn't even think they were going to have that pick. They kind of fluked into it. So if they can extract some extra value from that, I would imagine they would.
Right. It's definitely the closest thing to a win now team in the top, probably seven picks. Hawks are eight. They're in the playoffs right now. But, one through four and then five and six is very much so teams that aren't looking to make trades to get good now. At least, Wizards potentially, but they got it first so they can do whatever they want to.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think a good chunk of these teams are going to be competitive or at least try to be competitive, with the new lottery reform in place, tanking's being disincentivized. And I think the idea for a lot of these franchises is this is the year. This is the draft. This is the big one. And the next two drafts are not viewed as favorably as this. So once you have your guy, go out and compete. There's no point in taking anymore.
Yeah, definitely. So do you want to go ahead and take this, assuming there is no trades? Do you want to take this number two overall pick for the Utah Jazz? Who do you think they take here?
Yes. For the Utah Jazz, the second overall pick, I had them taking Cam Boozer, not Darren Peterson.
Wow, here we go.
I don't think that's actually that controversial. I think just about like I said, every analytics department loves Cam Boozer. He's National Player of the Year, consensus best player in college basketball. Can stretch the floor a little bit, and honestly, he's just a winner. He's won at every level. He's a phenomenal player. He's very mature for his age. He's one of the youngest players in the draft, and his dad also works for the Jazz. So, like the way I see it, all of the signs in my mind are pointing towards Cam Boozer for the Jazz, especially when you look at how Darren Peterson doesn't really want to seem to play for the Jazz. He's so focused on like being the number one overall pick. And while the Jazz have shown in the past they don't really care what people think, like if they want a guy, they're going to take him, like they did with Ace Bailey last year. I do think that Cam Boozer is just the right pick for them.
I don't think I ever ran this idea by you, but I know we talked before about how obviously Carlos Boozer is like the director of scouting. Basically, the people that tells the people who take the picks is obviously his father. So I think there is an okay chance using that logic that he gets taken second overall by the Jazz. My thought is that if he does go to the Jazz, which I'll talk briefly about now, and if it does happen, I will go into a lot of depth about it because I think it's super fun. What this team looks like with Cameron Boozer on the roster, some of all the players that they have stay in place right now,
But yeah,
it's oddly similar, like structure of the starting five. It's oddly similar to the Houston Rockets. Think about basically it's like the Houston Rockets if they had a point guard instead of Amen Thompson. Take out Keontae George. Think about when Steven Adams was there, he's constantly getting offensive rebounds. Walker Kessler plays a very similar role. You would have Cameron Boozer would kind of take up, they're different, but they actually has a lot of overlap. He would take up the Sengun role a little bit, where they play in the high post, likes to drive first, but can stretch a little bit, and is a very good passer as far as like a big body guy goes.
yeah,
You would have I had Laurie Markkinen basically doing this is the most stretch here, but basically like being a play finisher version of Kevin Durant. So it basically is like at the two or three like KD plays in Houston with the weird, tall lamps that they run. But it would just be Laurie Markkinen constantly finishing plays, getting the ball and shooting threes, or just being the guy to hit, take tough shots like KD did. And then that leaves you with Jaren Jackson Jr. playing a very similar role to Jabari Smith Jr. You see a little overlap in that play style too, don't you?
yeah, for sure. And then you throw in Ace Bailey too. You could run such tall lineups with that group. You could You could have the jumbo-sized teams if you have the Jazz play the Rockets one night, that'd be so fun to watch.
Yeah, it's literally gonna be like one guy under 6'6", like 2 guys total, 1 for each team, and everybody else is like 6'9" plus.
Yeah, that would
It'd be
that's gonna be
awesome.
some entertaining basketball, that's for
So again,
sure.
I'm really excited for the thought of that, and I do hope it happens just because I wanna talk about the idea, and I wanna see if it how it plays out, how I think it might on the court. That's really surprising you took that though, man. Like, I'm actually really high on Cam Boozer too. The only reason I reacted so much is because I made my entire mock draft as well, thinking that, he was gonna fall 3. You said he's analytics darling. Memphis Grizzlies is one of the most analytics driven, draft teams that we've seen in the past couple years. So I thought they were gonna be really excited when they got this pick, but now they're gonna have to slip to, somebody else, as you already took him with the Utah
Mhm.
Jazz.
Who are you taking at 3?
It feels like an obvious choice now. I mean, I heard somebody say too, is like the Utah Jazz have the hardest pick in the draft, and the what's it called? The Grizzlies have the easiest because it's kind of just whoever falls out of the top two. Who do you take? Because it is looked at as like a 1, 2, 3, and then a little bit below or half tier below, you got Caleb Wilson, and then a little bit half tier below, you got all the guards coming in, right? That's how I see it. That's how a lot of people see it. So I will draft Darren Peterson to this team without thinking too hard. Just take talent first, as far as like you haven't picked this high, right? Who you believe in. So that means Peterson goes to the Grizzlies. That actually changes my pick for them later too, because I was thinking earlier today that they really badly need guard play around John Morant. Even if he goes, they have especially need
He's
guard
gonna
play.
go.
But they have a lot of good young forwards and bigs in this team that are probably going to be around for the future. They don't really have that with the guard. Like the closest thing they have to that is Scottie Pippen Jr. And he's actually underrated. He's good, but he's not going to be like he's not in your long term future plans as Memphis Grizzlies. You know?
He's a good defender for sure. I do think John Morant definitely gets moved this offseason, assuming they can find a trade for him, and if not, they might just waive him, but they definitely need a new, at least semi-face of the franchise, but at the very least, just a lead guard that can score and generate offense for them, and Darren Peterson definitely fills that role.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see what that would look like if it does happen. I'm still smiling so happy that you took Cam Boozer. I was expecting 1 through 4 to just go so easy, like everybody's been talking about for a month now. So, who do you got the Bulls taking at number 4 here? Is it the expected pick?
Yeah, yeah, I have the Bulls taking Caleb Wilson here. I'm gonna push back a little bit on your point about they're the top 3 and then, like, a half tier below Caleb Wilson. I think Caleb Wilson's on the same tier as those other 3 guys, and I think there is a solid chance that the Grizzlies end up taking Caleb Wilson and Darren Peterson slips to 4. I don't think that's out of the question. With Caleb, just the fact you have the random wrist injuries that, kinda unexpected, but the way people have been talking about him, and when you watch some of the film, there's like he's got the potential of like a cross of like Giannis and like Kevin Garnett. And like once he fills out, once he puts on muscle, he's going to be scary. And I very much think he's going to eventually one day become an all NBA caliber player and like a 1A on like a playoff contender, if not championship team. So I could very well see him going higher than 4, and I wouldn't be too surprised.
That's interesting. I don't know that I feel that way. I would definitely be surprised if he went in the top 3. Not like utterly shocked. I don't think it's a tier or 2 tiers where the drop off is, but like I'm high on Caleb Wilson. I think his mid range game is just so fun to watch. Like, I
It
cannot
is.
overstate how much fun it is watching his like turnaround baseline mid ranges. It's just such a it's great aesthetically. But I don't know if he's has the defensive ceiling as other people say. He didn't show it a whole lot at Carolina. I heard people say he was a lockdown defender in high school. I'll take their word for it. I'll watch that a little bit later, but not quite the same at Carolina. I don't love the KG comparison. I thought it's a little bit strange, and Giannis a little bit too. But when you go back and look and see Kevin Garnett when he got drafted to Minnesota in the early 2000s, he's a lot skinnier than the Kevin Garnett I think of. So there's definitely a similar enough body type there that I could see it. And obviously, mid range game too. KG was mid range demon. All that is pretty applicable, but it's not as much as I'd imagine. I don't know. I'm really curious to see what they do. And obviously, they need a 4. The Bulls have they have so many guards on this team. They need a front court. Their big was Vucevic for a while. He's now rotting away in Boston. Is he a free agent? Is he expiring?
I'm not sure, but rotting's a little bit of a harsh word.
He didn't even play in the game 7. He's
It didn't
rotting.
work
He's
out
old.
well. Okay, they also started, like, Ron Harper Jr. in game 7, so
That's
let's
fair enough. I don't want to bring up too many bad memories for you. But they need front court help. Patrick Williams, they gave a big contract to. He didn't deserve it. Everybody's aware of that. So they just need to take a step back away and build a corner piece they can put around Montas Buzelis at the 3. And I really like that forward duo of Montas Buzelis and Caleb Wilson. Be a lot of fun to watch in these couple years.
For sure. Yeah. And I think especially with Caleb, when you make those comparisons, you have to think about like the early career versions of Giannis and KG. Like obviously not the in their prime, like fully physically developed like kind of players. Like the way Cam Boozer already looks like a grown man and AJ does too, Caleb Wilson's kind of the opposite. And then a lot of it is just you're going off of potential and what you think he could become.
Right. Yeah, and he showed a lot of in Carolina too. I don't want to discredit what he did Carolina. Very like good finishing above the rim. It's just the defense is a lot of what you're holding on to. And as I one of the first things I'm out and talking about him, I didn't see a ton of that at Carolina. There's flashes here and there, but it wasn't anywhere near consistent.
For sure. For sure. All right. Who do you have at five?
5 is tricky for me because I've said before, this one's kind of the first win now team. The Clippers, shout out to them for trading Zubac away and getting even a chance to get a top 10, top 9 pick. They got it, top 5. Couldn't have worked out better for them. My 5th on the big board is Darius Acuff. I'm a huge Acuff fan. He's just so fun to watch. Got a lot of upside, especially offensively. But I think for the Clippers' sake, did I tell you about having 2 Dariuses? How funny that is?
Yeah. Yeah.
2 like undersized guards that don't play defense named Darius in the front court. I mean the back court. That's awful. So it makes more sense to go get somebody bigger, somebody who can play off ball, off of guard a little bit more. And I think the guy who fits that the most is Keaton Wagler.
Wow.
So I'm gonna have Keaton Wagler go number 5. I think it's a little bit higher than I have him. I think he's like 7 or 8 on my big board, but I think this does make the most sense. It just depends on how the Clippers feel about Darius Garland. Is he the future? Obviously, he just got there. He didn't play a ton, didn't play too well, and he's not super young, but he's obviously a whole lot younger than the rest of the players over there are. So, if they don't want to hold on to Garland, I think you take best, most talented, which somebody like to me is Mikhail Brown or Darius Acuff. I think are a little more talented, maybe a higher ceiling than somebody like Keaton Wagler might be. But I think depending on what they want to do, if they want to keep winning, trying to put this roster higher up.
So, I mean, I imagine them trading the pick, but if they don't, I I could see them taking Wagler. I had Darius Acuff going here just because like Calipari guards are pretty typically a very safe bet. And when Calipari says that Acuff is like one of the best he's ever had, like I don't take that lightly. And so I see a world very much in where Acuff becomes like possibly the best player in this entire draft. I think he has that kind of potential. And for me, in my mind, like once we get past those like kind of that really big top 4, like Acuff has to be the next off your board. So I see where it could go to Wagler here, but not what I would have done.
Gotcha. All right. Well, who do you have for number 6 with the Brooklyn Nets? Where do you think
Well,
they go?
I had Wagler. I gotta change this slightly
There we
because
go.
I'm not
Yeah.
going just based off of what I would do. I'm trying to think about what the teams here would do. And given that it is the Brooklyn Nets, I see in this position, I would be like, oh, yeah, we take Acuff. That's our guy. But the Nets, I feel like always tend to surprise us with their picks. So the simple option isn't always what they would go with or the obvious option per se. So I'm gonna switch mine and I'm gonna say that the Nets take Mikhail Brown Jr. here. 6'5", like guard from Louisville. In my mind, he is who I think actually, I was telling you beforehand, he's who I think has the highest bust potential. In my mind, he has the lowest floor, but also one of the highest ceilings. Because the highs are really high with him, but there's still some questions in terms of like his shooting around the basket and stuff like that. And it just very much feels like the kind of player where his situation will make or break how he does. And I could very well see him going to Brooklyn and things either going really well or just not panning out the way they're supposed to. And also, I know the Kings, at least from everything we've been made aware of, are very, very high on Acuff. So I know they would be thrilled if this happens.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think so too. I definitely agree about the highest bust potential out of depending on where you want Native Mint to go, like probably the top 8, top 10 players projected in that range. I definitely think so too. I didn't love him going to Louisville, to be honest. Not great that I know a whole lot about him. I just knew he was a kind of a guy who took dumb, sometimes crazy shots. He has really grown on me a lot watching, like getting more into the lottery.
Hmm.
I think what people don't talk enough about this guy is his ability to drive and kick to open shooters. He did a ton of that at Louisville, and I need him to go to a place that either plays 4 or 5 out or takes a lot of threes. And I looked it up while you were talking. Brooklyn is 11th this past year in 3-point attempts, so they take a lot of threes. So he'll definitely fit well in that system. My spot for him, and hopefully I can do this in another mock pretty soon, or that happens in real life, is him going to Atlanta. because I think they need, if he falls to 8, which may not happen, but there's definitely a world where it does happen. I like they shoot a lot. They they got Kongwu and Jalen Johnson to 4-5, so they'll play 5 out even if Dyson Daniels is still out there taking taking threes at 18% at a time. I really wish he would fall to Atlanta because I really think that'll work out best as far as what they need and also what can he can utilize as a main like a ball handler, but also take some threes, can kick out the 3-point shooters. I think he can play next to Igor Dimin though. I do like Igor Dimin a lot. I think he surprised me. I didn't love him out of BYU last year, but he took a lot of threes this past season, worked out pretty well for Brooklyn. One of their definitely their best rookie out of what they drafted last year. I could see them play next to each other, and I think this makes sense for a team that's kind of an open room, if you want to say, for the Brooklyn Nets, where it's kind of just whatever you want. You just take highest, most talented player available for the most part. I like Mikal Brown here too. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. And I mean, I very much like the Hawks with the way you're describing it. It's not too far from where he grew up. He's from Orlando. And also just I guess worth noting with Louisville, like Mikal Brown is an Adidas guy. Like he played on the 3SSB circuit. He has his own team on the 3SSB circuit now. Louisville's an Adidas school. And it's not like that affiliation will really matter when he gets to the NBA, like as to what team picks him. But I guess just something to keep in mind.
Mikal Brown's already got 3 SSB team.
Yeah, he's got an AAU team already. And Adidas
Sweet.
doesn't invest in those kinds of players unless they think you're gonna be something pretty special. I mean, like Lou Dort also has one, but like Lou Dort's a very good player in his own right.
No, but early in the career, you're right. Like that doesn't happen often. That's
No,
interesting.
especially when you're that young.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So now I got the 7th pick overall with the Kings. This one I believe I took Mikal Brown because I just couldn't really see him falling to 8, even if I want that to happen.
Yeah.
This one feels really obvious, which unfortunately
Yes.
for the Kings means they probably won't do it. But I feel like you need to take Darius Acuff with this pick,
I
right?
think
There's
they
no
would
way
take
anybody
Akef with
else.
that pick. I feel
Yeah.
like they could see that and realize that's the right decision.
Think he said his camp wants him to go there, which is a little bit odd. Like, who wants to go to Sacramento? But if that's what he wants to do, it is definitely the same with the Brooklyn Nets, where it's kind of just like you can do whatever you want to really over there. You can
Yeah,
make mistakes. They'll let you like fight through them, and you'll have the team to yourself essentially, right? You have the keys to the culture already. I'm excited to see what that looks like in Sacramento if it does happen this way.
definitely. And I mean, there have been guards that have had early career success in Sacramento. You look at Tyrese Halliburton, you look at De'Aaron Fox, Davion Mitchell, like they all ended up elsewhere and doing really well, but they had solid start to their career in Sacramento. And so I don't think it's, an NBA death sentence by any means. And I'm sure Sacramento is like a nice city, good nightlife, good food, probably good carrots. You ever heard of them? Yeah, they're very good. But yeah, so I think A cuff at 7 of the Kings makes sense. If you know, you know.
That's a
Um,
stupid inside joke. I don't even remember where it came from. Anyways, so then we
yeah,
have number 8 going up now, the Atlanta Hawks. This team, I heard somebody call like the Atlanta Hawks a genius for this move. The
what?
ownership of the Atlanta Hawks. It's not. They're not geniuses for making this move. Anybody with half a brain cell would have made this move if Joe Dumars came to you with this pick. Like
Yep,
I was thinking about it earlier today. One of the owners for the Toronto Raptors, we got rid of Masai Ujiri because he thought anybody could make that Kawhi Leonard move. That's like a good move. That's not luck. We had to trade away DeMar DeRozan, a couple other things
fan
going.
favorite.
Like Hurdle was young. Not everybody would make that deal. I think he's wrong about that. This one, this
New
one,
Orleans
Joe.
offers that, yeah, you'd be in it. They checked like 4 times. They were like, "Hey, just to be sure, this is an unprotected first, right?" So many opportunities to be like, "No, it's top 10 protected," or something.
Yeah. So, anyways, Hawks number 8, man. Who are you taking if you're the Atlanta Hawks here? A lot of ways you can go. I feel like.
There are. With the 8th pick in this fake draft, I is the Atlanta Hawks and selecting Ade Mara from Michigan, the big man. I don't see them taking a guard here. I think honestly they go with someone big that can anchor the paint. And honestly, he's been trending up as of recently, as through the pre-draft process, and I just don't see him going much lower than this.
Yeah, I've had a strange relationship with Ade Mara this year. Had like especially looking into mock draft stuff because I've said it before. I feel like Ade Mara like halfway through the year was really good. Like I love this guy. I love watching him play. He's like Sabonis, but can't shoot free throws, and he's also like the best defender on the court. Like that player in theory is really really good. He's 7'3", great passer, great IQ defensively and offensively in the high post. A ton of fun to watch. And I thought the Raptors could get him at 19 because he was supposed to go around 20 or so for the entire year. Kept doing the exact same thing he was doing the entire year in March Madness, and suddenly he's not going to fall outside of the top 10. And I almost feel like the pendulum has swung too far the other direction to where I don't know if his ceiling is high to take him this high because of his lack of a shot, lack of free throws, shooting percentage, stuff like that. Like I think he belongs in the late lottery. And now I hear people saying he's not, like I said, not going to fall past the Atlanta Hawks at 8. I think I'm a little conflicted about this too because I like Onyeka Okongwu a lot, but I don't know that I think the Hawks are ready to kind of move off of him as like the starting center. So that makes sense. I just feel like they need a guard like Mikhail Brown. They need CJ McCollum's not going to be there so much longer. They need an actual point guard in a draft that's so point guard heavy or, point guard, shooting guard heavy. They should take somebody like that. But I also think it'll be fun to watch Damar on this roster. So I'm here for both. I feel like this gets mocked a lot. I think it's a little strange, and I would take a guard if I was them, but I think it makes sense too. And I'm excited to see what it looks like if this does happen.
Yeah, I get that. This is one of those picks where it could end up going a few different ways. But whatever the case, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. It could also end up being, like Yaxel or someone we're just really not expecting too. I wouldn't be too surprised if that happened.
Rob of the Sports Guys came on the podcast. We mentioned it briefly last episode. He said he could see Yaxel going like top 8. Just such a good win now player. If you ignore his age, he's maybe the 4th best guy in this draft, maybe 5th.
Somewhere up there, yeah. I think there's also been the concerns about his maturity among NBA teams. But I mean, especially in terms of players you want in the league going forward, I think a guy with his stature, his strength and size, I think that's definitely an asset for, I guess, more contending teams at this point when you want to be competitive in the playoffs.
I definitely see that. This was me in a tough spot. Granted, looking back at this pick, I had a Damar going 9 to the Mavericks because I think him next to Cooper Flag is a ton of fun. They also already have Gafford and
And Lively.
Lively, so I assume that they would move off if one of, if not both those guys, if they do get this pick here, which might also be a good business decision to be honest. Like Daniel Gafford is a really serviceable guy, and Lively's still really young. He's not going to grow a ton more than what he was with Luka, so you might as well sell him while his value's high. I want to see a Damar next Cooper Flag. That's not happening in this mock draft. So now I got to figure out what guard will pair well with Cooper Flag for the future. Because obviously I still have Kyrie Irving in this roster, but I don't know if he's going to stay there. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen with him in Dallas.
There's a right answer here.
I'm choosing between Kingston and Burries. And I told you before the podcast, I really like how consistent Burries is. I wonder if you want to take somebody that has a higher ceiling next to Cooper Flag, like Kingston Flemings does. So I'm leaning towards Flemings, I feel like, if I was the Mavericks. I think I'm gonna
How
take
much do you want me to
Kingston
persuade you one way or another?
I'm gonna take Flemings as the Mavericks. Was that the right pick for you or no?
No. I want you to take Burries. I feel like he's a lot better off ball, and Kyrie is still going to be there like next year, and I would imagine at least the year after that. And just because of how well he played off ball next to Jaden Bradley at Arizona, I feel like that's someone that could slot right in right away, make an impact, and especially throw him in with Cooper and some of the other guys. I just really like his fit with Dallas.
Well, 100%. But I also don't think if I'm the Mavericks, I am not thinking about how this team looks with Kyrie Irving in it. I mean, Kyrie Irving is probably what is he like 34 or so, and his game is styled around being faster and more agile than everybody else. I don't know if he's going to be in the NBA in 3 or 4 years when you want to be competing with Cooper Flag. I don't know that you think about this with
You
Kyrie Irving
definitely
in mind.
want to make Cooper Flag your long-term focus, but like if you've seen like Kyrie, like videos of him like working out and getting back into shape this summer, like he still very much looks like his old self. Not like his like 2016 self, but like his like Brooklyn Nets, like early Dallas Mavericks self. And I still
Hey,
think he can produce at that level for a few more years.
I've also seen Mitchell Robinson be like a knockdown 3-point shooter.
All
And
right. Yeah. And so is Ademara in the workout videos. Ben Simmons has great offseason workout videos. I
that's
feel like
right.
this is a little bit
Yeah,
different.
Hoodie Mello out there on like the best player you've ever seen. So I'm comfortable taking Flemings. I think Flemings would be better. Again, I think they're not going to have Kyrie in the long term, and I think that's a better guy to put. I think you want to put an on-ball guy, especially because they ran Cooper a lot at point guard, and that's just kind of ridiculous. It may work out well like it did with Giannis and Jason Kidd. Like he's done this before, and it's worked out well. But I think they need a more ball dominant guy, and if Kyrie Irving, like in my head, is not going to be.
Yeah. Which I guess then I don't because of how high I also am on Burries, I don't see him slipping past the next pick. So even though I like Kingston Fleming is a better fit for Milwaukee, I'd take Braden Burries next at 10. Yeah. I think they take a guard, and Burry seems like the best one, both guard and then pure talent wise left at this point. So yeah, I see that.
Gotcha. I will take that for you here. I'm assuming this is keeping in mind that, like, in the idea that Giannis is not around, right? You've heard all the
Yeah,
rumors going
and he
on.
gets traded within the next few days.
So let me ask, because I think Braden Burries is probably the second most win now player in the top 20 picks besides Yaxel Lindenberg. Why do you have Braden Burries going to the Bucks instead of somebody that's a higher ceiling guy like LeBaron Philon or Natum Min, for example?
Well, I mentioned he's good. I mean, Native Ment would definitely be a good project player. It's like replacing like another Giannis. But like I said, Braden Burries is good off ball, and I think he'll fit well next to Tyler Hero.
You got Tyler Hero coming back, going to Milwaukee.
Yeah. I
That's where
think
he's from, and that's
Giannis
what
will end
everybody
up on the
talks
Heat.
about.
Tyler Hero is going to be in that package, and Miami will have themselves the Twin Towers with Giannis and Bam.
In that case, I would want them taking Kingston Flemings probably. I mean, I don't know that you
That's
want
why I wanted Kingston Flemings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
But
fair.
I think
I
Braden is
wanna
the guy.
I also wanna say, I talked to a Bucks fan yesterday. He's really high on LeBaron Philon. LeBaron Philon is one of my favorite pick and roll guards in this draft, and they hired Taylor Jenkins away from the Grizzlies, or obviously he was fired, but you know, from the Grizzlies his last stop. And Taylor Jenkins, before he got fired, ran a ton of pick and roll, and John Morant wasn't happy about it. I think that's what happened. So he liked LeBaron Philon before I even thought about Taylor Jenkins being the new head coach. I think LeBaron Philon, if he falls to Milwaukee, is a really good pick.
It's not bad, but the thing I am also worried about is that LeBaron Philon weighs under 180 pounds. And of the guards that have been drafted that have weighed under 180 pounds, there have been two that turned out to be as good as we were expecting. One of whom,
Is that combine numbers? I heard 185 last.
I think combine numbers, yeah. Last I heard was like 175.
How do you lose weight at 185, 6'4"? Okay, whatever. That's tough to hear. I'm worried about like his size too, if that's the case. I totally hear you on that.
Yeah. All right, 11, what you got?
Like I said, this is where my thing got completely messed up. So I gotta be on the spot here. Actually, I'm pretty comfortable with this. I had Yaxel going to the Warriors.
I
If
did
he
too.
wasn't gonna go to 11, he was probably gonna go to 12 with the Thunder. Those teams are quote unquote win now. And again, I say again, he's most win now player. So I will take Yaxel Lindenberg for the Warriors. They need size. They already have a pretty 3-point heavy offense. So in theory, even if he isn't hitting threes, it should still work out pretty well. They should be able to space the floor around him enough.
Yeah.
Should be a very good defender. They need.
Yeah. I had Yaxie going to the Warriors too for just about all the same reasons you said. I'm with you there.
Gotcha. I want to say this too. I don't know how long you're gonna let this guy fall for, but one of my things was that if Philo doesn't get taken around 10 like he's supposed to go, he could fall pretty far. Like I saw multiple drafts where he goes, or mocks, where he goes past my Raptors at 19, which is a really interesting world. Like he is probably the leading candidate if you look at betting odds to basically fall out of the lottery. He's supposed to be in the lottery. You know what
I
I mean?
had him falling out of the lottery in mine. Yeah.
Okay. So who do
I
you
gotta tell you
have?
where I
Not
had
to spoil
him.
too much. Who do you have the Thunder taking with this pick at number 12 here?
With the Thunder at 12, I had them taking Merez Johnson. I feel like he's just really a guy that embodies Thunder. He's 6'9", he's but a much larger wingspan, and he's just so versatile. He's one of the few guys who I think can genuinely guard 1 through 5, and he's a winner. He's coming from a Michigan team that just won the national championship, and Dusty May described him as like the heart and soul of that Michigan team. He was the energizer, he's the go-getter, and he's a guy that could play a small ball 5, but like then slot in nicely to 4. And depending on what happens with the Thunder's cap situation, if they don't decide to move on from Jalen Williams and have to restructure a few other pieces, if Hartenstein's not there, then I think Merez Johnson's a guy that could come in and fit very nicely for this Thunder team.
I really like Merez Johnson a lot. I think he was also close to 12 or so on my big board as far as just, big board as far as like how much I like a guy, not based on fit or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really hoping he slips to the Hornets because I think they need him as a 4.5, 5 next to Diabate for the long-term future of the team, assuming that's your 1 through 3 and Con, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller stay healthy enough.
Yeah.
I really, really like that pick a lot. So I hope he goes to 14 there. But yeah, like everything you said, Perez Johnson, one of my favorite guys in this draft. For like ever since I saw him in Michigan early in the season, I said this guy's a tight end that's just kept growing and didn't stop growing.
Yeah.
Now he's 6'9", stupid athletic. He's got a huge vertical. My only thought about him going to Thunder is I feel like they tend to draft players that can stretch the floor better than Perez Johnson can. He was not a great shooter. I think he was like barely above 30% when he was at Michigan, and they took a decent bit of threes as well. But I think he also showed flashes in the combine, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. We'll see though. He's got time to develop that. And OKC's very good at developing their young guys.
That's true. That would be scary to be honest. I really hope he doesn't fall to OKC or they don't take him at 12 because that could be bad for the league. He could be very, very good in a couple years.
For sure. All right, 13. Who you got?
This is where I have the Miami Heat. I actually am very uncertain about the Miami Heat, to be honest with you. This is probably the one pick in the top 20 that I was really conflicted on because I don't necessarily know what they need. And also, there's so much in the air with the Giannis situation. Like, this
Yeah.
team might look very different. If they get rid of Khalil Ware, do they need a big? Probably. But until then, they have Khalil Ware. There's no reason to take another big. They just drafted this guy, what, last year
Or
before
is
that?
there?
Yeah. So I'm not. I'm not 100% sure with this team. I looked at their past drafts, and this is where I'm going to take Kareem Lopez because
Okay.
he's supposed to go to the lottery. I am uncertain about him as a player, to be honest. But I feel like if there's one team that can take somebody, they got Yakuchonis recently. They took another European. I'm blanking on the name right now, but they have taken guys like this in the past and made them work. The Miami Heat development staff is next to none. Like they're very, very good at taking players that you don't really see reaching a ceiling, and then they end up getting there with this team, maybe even going beyond what you expected. So I think they can take Green Lopez and make him work better than pretty anybody else on here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a solid pick.
Now the Hornets, man, number 14. I got Hornets fans around here, so don't make the wrong pick here. Who are you gonna
I've
take?
got a fun one for 14. I think I might have told you about who I liked at this spot a little while ago when the draft stuff was first starting. I think in my mind, it is the obvious pick for so many reasons. But not anyone that you're seeing currently on the board right now. So with the 14th overall pick in this draft, I have the Hornets taking Isaiah Evans.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big jump for him as a projected late first rounder, but here's my reasoning. Make the Charlotte Blue Devils a thing. They already basically are. There's such a strong pipeline there. And aside
They
from
have Kobe White.
yeah, okay, minus him, but he's from North Carolina. They're getting guys that are from not only just the colleges in the state, but the high schools in the state. Isaiah Evans grew up in Charlotte. He went to North Mecklenburg, a Charlotte powerhouse. He's a 6'5", 3-and-D movement shooter, and he slots in so well with LaMelo, Kahn, Brandon Miller, and you put him in there at like the 3, like you add so much shooting to this team, and then the defensive piece. In my mind, Isaiah Evans is one of those guys. Like he's kind of like Con Knipple last year in that he can just kind of slot in anywhere because he's such a good shooter, and he's long too. Like there's just a lot of upside here, and I feel like he's a safe pick, and he's gonna be a fan favorite.
All right, let me. I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Are you aware that the Hornets have the 18th overall pick too?
Yes.
So do you think they're going to take Evans with 14 and when they can probably get him at 18? Like you're comfortable with this instead of him going to 18?
Yeah, I have a different pick for them at 18, which is another fun one actually.
Okay. I'm going to
They
click
might
continue
switch,
this.
they
That's
might
what you
switch the
sound
order of who I
confident.
have at 14 and 18 based on where
Yeah.
I think they can get the guys, but yeah, I'm still okay with this.
I want to say too, I'm also pretty high on Isaiah Evans. Like I told the same Bucks fan yesterday that I think him at 19, I would not be disappointed. And he was like, that's so high for Evans. And it low key is pretty high for Evans from where like everyone else has him projected to go.
Just you wait, man.
And he has flaws. Like
He
I'm
does.
not when this guy was at Duke, once he stepped like a foot in front of the 3-point line, I took a like a big sigh of relief because I knew nothing was gonna happen. But he is such a better defender than I realized he is. Like you said, movement shooter, very consistent. Every time he shoots, I feel like it's gonna go in. He's got such a smooth stroke too. Like I like this guy a lot. So I'm not gonna be the one to say it's stupid high, but it's definitely a lot higher than I would have taken him at. And I would have
Yeah.
took 18 as well. So I'm curious what you got going on for 18 here in a couple picks.
I'll just you wait. Let's speed run these next few. Who you got at 15?
So 15 is going to be the Chicago Bulls.
Yes.
This one, I have Hannes Steinbach. I think is how you say his first name.
Yeah.
Steinbach going there. It makes sense. Like I said, they clearly, after getting, Vucevic rotting away on your Celtics bench, I'm going to say it again. They need to kind of get a big for the future. And Steinbach is interesting to me because up until recently, I didn't know him as more than much just a rebounder, but he's got really nice touch around the rim. Like he's going to be efficient pretty much for sure just around the rim, be very good at that. He's also got good footwork and he's shown a little bit of potential to space the floor and a little potential to shot block. And he's also super young too. So this guy's better than I thought he was going to be. I still have questions about his ceiling, but I like this guy for the Bulls, especially putting him around Caleb Wilson. Like I think that's going to be a really good front court for many years to come. So I think that makes sense for
Yeah.
them.
I like that pick. I like that.
What do you got for 16?
16, I have the Grizzlies taking Nate Ament. I think at this point, when you're in the draft, you can kind of swing for one of those guys that might be a little bit more of a project. And I don't think the Grizzlies have illusions of contending next year. They already got their go-to guard in Darren Peterson earlier in this draft. And so I think Ament is a good forward. You let him develop and you kind of see what he's going to end up being capable of. I mean, he's 6'10". He can kind of shoot, but he's a little bit slow right now. And he's still, I feel like, kind of getting used to his frame. He wasn't this tall until a few years ago. And so he could very well turn into one of those project players that ends up being kind of like a Giannis, or he could also end up being more of like a, I hesitate to say this, but like a bull. Like I could see it going on like both ends of the spectrum, but I feel like once you're in this range, it feels like a pretty good gamble to take.
I will say I'm a little surprised that Kim Carr and Phylon have dropped this low, especially Phylon. I mean, I also want to say too, I don't know if you knew this or not, but what's his name? He's the guy you just took, Memphis
Nate
Grizzlies
Ament.
guy. In a minute, thank you. LeBaron Philon is another analytics darling. Like his offensive box plus minus numbers are like second or third in the entire draft, where he's supposed to fall, in like the mid to late lottery. So I could see the Memphis Grizzlies taking him if they don't take Darren Peterson. Like if they
Yeah.
get Cam like they're supposed to at number 3, I think they're gonna take Philon if he falls to this pick. Let me just put that out in the air. But I think I actually also had Nate Mint going to here in my draft lottery because I had Philon going to the Bucks a little while ago. I think that makes sense. It's not perfect, but again, especially if they take Peterson, it makes sense to go get a more project piece. I like
Yeah,
that a lot.
definitely. All right.
So now we
Seven.
have the Thunder with the 17th overall pick, and Cam Carr is still here, and that surprises me. So I feel like I had Cam Carr going 12.
Hmm.
So I'm surprised he's made it this far. I originally had Alan Graves going here because I think they like 3-and-D guys a whole lot, and that's kind of what he projects to be at. But I'm gonna take Cameron Carr
Yeah,
because
that's where I had Cam Carr going 17 in my draft.
he is. I honestly like if he's this close to the Raptors, we should. Now I don't know if we need this guy, but he'd be a lot of fun. I like Cam Carr a lot. If he's this close to the Raptors, we maybe think about like trading up 2 spots because it won't
Yeah.
cost you really anything.
Dude, the
I like
way
Cam
the
Carr a
way he
lot.
went off at the combine was just insane.
Yeah, and I sent you that little like 3 or 4 minute mixtape I saw on Twitter, right?
Ridiculous.
Dude, it is far and away the most fun, like, little highlight tape out of any of these guys. Like, he gets so many good things, a couple bad things that are glaring, like, so much fun, so much potential. Love this guy. I'm really wherever he goes, I'm gonna watch them more next year just to see how he looks. I'm really excited to see him
Definitely.
play.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
You got the Hornets now at 18. You hyped it up
18. I
again.
got
Where
2
where are we
bonus
going with
picks.
this pick?
What?
Well, I said you hyped this pick up a lot. You said it's gonna be crazy again too. Where are we going with
I
18 for
wouldn't
the
say it's not crazy, but I still think a little bit. I have them taking Jaden Quaintance. He is another guy from North Carolina. He played at our favorite Word of God Christian Academy. And obviously we haven't really gotten to see a lot of him as who he is because of the injuries he's had at Kentucky and Arizona State. But oh my God, if this guy can get healthy, he could be like a top 5 player in this draft. Like genuinely, the sky is the limit for him with his body, his frame, what he can do. He is genuinely just a freak of nature. And if Charlotte can get the best version out of him, the healthy version out of him, and they have Isaiah Evans and their core, like they could be like a second round playoff team next year.
You say Charlotte and healthy really close together. You know
Yeah,
that?
I know. And that's the oxymoron. But if they could make it work and he could get healthy for them, this would be a home run pick in my mind.
I definitely agree. I am of the belief that he is not gonna do a ton. Like, I just don't know how healthy he's gonna be, and I don't know what his ceiling is if he is fairly healthy. But I know what people are talking about with his ceiling, and if he gets that for the Hornets, that's a beautiful role for them. Like, they need a player like that. So I don't hate the pick. I won't say a ton of draft comps, but I heard Time Lord for this guy, Robert Williams, and I see that a ton. Do you
I
see
see
that?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
As
Time Lord's awesome. I love Rob Williams, but he's got such a low offensive ceiling, and
it
he's hurt all
is. And
He
I mean,
barely.
he's a little bit shorter, but like as he's one of the guys in this draft that I had actually watched in person, like incredible freak of nature. And on defense, the Time Lord comparison is well warranted.
So now I got my Raptors here at 19, and I've actually been all over the place with this pick. I'll go ahead and kind of get my big board. I like I think Chris Sinak fits positionally what we need because I just don't know that Hurdle is going to be around a ton longer. We'll see. He's on contract for another 4 years, but I like Chris Sinak positionally. I love Bennett Sturts. Like eye test on Bennett Sturts is ridiculous, and I'd be very happy if we took Bennett Sturts with that pick if he's still available, which he may not be. My only concern with Bennett Sturts, I said before, is that he's played under the same coach. Like he's gone from D2 to I think it was Drake to Iowa, and it's been the same coach every year since he left high school. So he hasn't played in a scheme that wasn't that guy's scheme or system since high school. That kind of concerns me a little bit in the just jumping to the NBA. But I love him a lot. Dalen Swain too. I love watching Dalen Swain. I had no idea watching this guy. He was 6'7", 6'8". Like he moves like a guard for that height, and that's really fun. I like him too. And Alan Graves is interesting too as well. But if LeBaron Philon is here, we have to take LeBaron Philon. I don't even care like positionally. This guy is supposed to go top 10 or so. Like if we get him at 19, that's a steal. That may be the biggest steal of the draft up until this point. So I will take LeBaron Philon and just figure it out later, to be
That's
honest with you.
fair. I feel like LeBaron Philon is definitely the player that could have the most like similar drop to like Cam Whitmore a few years ago, where projected like top 10 pick that ends up in the 20s. That's just kind of the luck of the draw how it goes.
And Whitmore didn't do much, so don't put that in the air if Philon does go to the Raptors 19. But yeah, I definitely see it where it's like, again, he's just far and away the most potential to drop far, unfortunately. And I think it's honestly, I think part of it is because he went to Alabama and they just play such a different style than anybody else
They
does.
play
You know
very
what's
fast.
ironic, though, is that they play an NBA style, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I'd like him at the Raptors 19. I'll tell you that much. Who
Yeah.
do you got for the Spurs, the
Ooh,
runner-ups for the title this past year here at 20?
the Spurs, I have them taking Koa Pete. And the reason why I I just cannot see them taking a guard. Like they already have too much in that department as it is. They've got their backcourt secured. It doesn't really make sense to take a young big man just as a Wemby backup. Like they've already got Luke Cornettis as backup and they've got Wemby as their star. So it's got to be a forward type of player. And I think Koa Pete, the stuff with his jump shot is obviously concerning. He's in the middle of reconstructing that. I'm just going to hope that that's more polished by the time we get to the start of the season. But I think he's a high upside guy and he's ultimately a winning player coming from a winning team. And I think organizations like San Antonio value that. So I could very well see him going here.
I am relatively low on Koa Pete because I have not seen the highlight tape. Sorry, the high school tape that everybody loves so much. All I've seen him is at Arizona, and he feels fairly disappointing from what I expected with the hype coming out of high school. But I do see like he is clearly bigger than everybody else out there, and it worked very well in Arizona style. Not sure how it translates to the NBA, and the shot doesn't look very good. The numbers aren't great, but the shot doesn't like eye test. It doesn't look aesthetically pleasing to me.
Yeah.
But I also had him going to Spurs at 20, which I think is a little high compared to where everybody else has him at. But it just makes so much sense. Like I've said on the podcast before, they clearly need a four. I told you that the other night. This is far and away the best four they can get. I feel like, besides maybe Alan Graves, if they want to try and get him too. I
Yeah,
think
I
it
would
makes.
agree with that.
Put him next to Wemby. Like Wemby's thin and wiry. This guy is not. This guy is 6'7" and he's built like he's 6'11". I
They
feel
need
like
a
that
guy
makes
like that.
250. I think at 6'7".
Yeah,
Should be fun. I have him going 20 as well, so I feel like there's an okay chance that turns out.
for sure.
Next year, the Pistons here at 21, and I believe I took Christian Anderson with the Pistons. Let me double check on that.
That's a good pick.
No, I had Christian Anderson going earlier. I took Buko Corey, but if Christian
Mm,
Anderson is still here,
I
then
think
I
so.
think I'm gonna take Christian Anderson.
That's a good pick.
I uh I was not high on Christian Anderson when JT Toppin was there, but when JT Toppin went down, he turned into a monster.
He really
I will
stepped up.
say he reminds me a lot of Emmanuel Quickly. Just like good pick and roll guard, really fast, shoots a ton, can make good reads and good passes, mostly in pick and roll situations, but isn't like the greatest ball handler either. But they could really use somebody like Emmanuel Quickly, at least just a really good ball dominant guard that can stretch the floor and shoot and control. You have some self creation on that Pistons roster going forward, you know?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I had him going 19 to your Raptors, so I don't think he slips too much farther than the early 20s.
See, I thought so too. Like I've heard him to the Raptors as well, but like we're already paying Emmanuel Quickly $30 million a year. I don't want another Emmanuel Quickly when we have Emmanuel Quickly on contract. You
Yeah,
know
that's
that
fair
just doesn't make
enough.
sense to me.
All right. For
Got 22
22,
here. The Sixers. Who do you have here?
I have them taking Chris Sinak. Embiid's durability is obviously you can't trust it. You can get maybe 20 minutes a night out of him when he's healthy. Their backup big men right now are Andre Drummond and Adam Bona. And Drummond is like 32, 30, yeah, 32 years old. And Bona is Bona. So I really think they need to find a young big man that has a lot of potential that could be their next guy. With like Maxi and Edgecombe, and Cenac is definitely a lob threat. He has a little bit more offensive versatility than I think he got to show at Houston. Like he was a 5-star coming out of high school, and just as a player, I'm very high on him, and I think he could turn kind of into one of those nice rim running fives with maybe a little bit more to his game, kind of similar to a Daniel Gafford, a Robert Williams, a Nicholas Claxton, one of those guys. And I think Philly could really use that kind of center next to Maxi and Edgecombe.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't disrespect Dembona, by the way. Dembona is awesome. I loved him in Portland. He is like clearly like a second or third string guy, but I think he gives you good minutes for what he does. But I know what you mean. Like you definitely need somebody else besides a Dembona to
Yeah.
hold down the non-Embiid minutes and rotting away Drummond as well. So I think that makes sense. I had him going a little higher, but I think if he falls to Philly, that makes a lot of sense for them. That'd be a really good pick. I'd be happy with that if I was a Philly fan. Now we have the Hawks, which I had the Hawks going for Jaden Quaintance because for the similar enough reason as like they need a like a rim deterrent, right?
Yeah.
But you have them getting Mara when I had them go and get a guard. So in this case, they need to go get a point guard. And if Bennett starts falls to the Hawks at 23, man, that is going to be fantastic for them. I'm taking Bennett Sturts, and I'm not thinking about anything else. I think Bennett Sturts would be really good for this team. They need a consistent like ball handler who can make the right reads and make plays. CJ McCollum won't be there in a couple years. They need somebody to kind of step into that and play consistently. I like Bennett Sturts a lot with this pick, and if he falls to 23, the Hawks need to snag him up immediately.
Yeah, no qualms with that pick.
24 with the Knicks. We still got a couple of good guys on here. There's at least 3 or 4 guys that I like a lot in this list. So
We
who are you
do.
thinking?
I have a guy
Jimmy?
that's not on your screen right now though,
Oh,
that
what's
I have the
that?
Knicks taking. At 24, I have the Knicks taking Baba Miller out of Cincinnati. Um,
Wow.
I don't
See, I
know.
didn't even hit him in the first round. Okay.
Yeah. See, I don't know if you've watched this guy's highlight tape, but he is so much fun. He's an absolute freak of nature. He can dunk the ball like crazy. He's a good shot blocker. He's 6'10 and a half. And he's a guy like I don't really see the Knicks going out and getting themselves like another guard. I see him as like a guy that could sub as for Cat and as like a smaller five, or could be kind of like an OG Anunoby in terms of how he's like a more physical like kind of four. And I think he's also a pretty good playmaker. And so having that as an option, even if he doesn't stretch the floor as much, Cat can stretch the floor when they're playing together. And I think he's a winning player that could help make an impact for them in year one.
Gotcha. Yeah, I watched his highlight tape today because I was pretty familiar with him, and I do like a lot of what I see. My issue with him is like I don't know how his like I question his motor or his love kind of his love for the game a little bit because he takes as amazing as he is defensively, he takes some plays off, and that breaks my brain because I feel like I compared him with Jonathan Isaac, and Jonathan Isaac is like one of the greatest defenders ever, low key, but he just can't do anything offensively. I see Baba Miller in that same way, except for Baba Miller, I question his motor sometimes, and you can't question a motor with a guy that is limited offensively. Like that just doesn't work. Like you need to either be all the way up, you need to have a little bit of offense and be the greatest ever defensively if you're going to be in this role. And I don't know if he has that every play, which is why I, have him lower than people do, or
Yeah.
about where people have him lower than this. But I like him a lot as far as like on paper, he is very, very good. Like I love Jonathan Isaac. I love players like that are just like big fours. It's kind of Evan Mobley-ish a little bit. When I say big fours, I mean tall fours, not like muscular, but just like tall fours that are very versatile, guard 1 through 5 pretty well, stuff like that. I'm a sucker for players like that. I just
Yeah.
have a
I'm
concern.
sorry. We can't gloss over the fact you just said Jonathan Isaac is one of the greatest defenders ever. Hold on.
Dude, he low key like
No.
I'm not saying he's up there with like, Ben Wallace, but I'm saying like he would be making first team very consistent if he played more than 15 minutes a game.
But he
Also, he
doesn't,
did
so
some crazy
you can't
stuff.
put him in the same realm as like a Tamani Kamara or like a
Dude,
Herb Jones.
I 2 or 3 years ago, he's is better defensively than what Tamai anything I've seen Tamani Kamara, and I like Kamara a lot. Like, Jonathan Isaac is
Like,
actually so underrated, he just
yes,
sucks
he
at
just
offense.
doesn't play is the problem.
That's 'cause he's hurt, and he sucks at
Yes,
offense.
the best ability is availability. There's a reason you have to hit like certain minute and game qualifications to be eligible for awards. Like that kind of matters. You can't be the best defender in the world if you're only defending for like 10 to 15 minutes a game.
Mm, maybe. I then again, you see Wembanyama, they'd give that to him in 10 minutes,
Well, yeah, for sure. Wemby's going to win like the next 10 depoys in a row.
but even if he does play 10 minutes a game. So, 25 here, the Lakers, I think I told you before, this is 24, it to me is where, like, it's really I think there's a drop off in my big board.
Yeah.
However, a couple of these guys I had going before this. So, I think I had Taurus Reed going to the Lakers.
Mm,
Just as like a you can do Henry Vesar as well if you wanted to, maybe even Zuby if you wanted to reach for him. Just I feel like they need a center that isn't DeAndre Ayton or Jackson Hayes.
I see that.
I think more serviceable rotation minutes would be good. I think pick and roll guys next to Luka, you'd want to take somebody like Taurus Reed as well. Pick and pop if you want to take Henry Vesar. I said I'm okay with either of those.
Hmm.
But I like Swain a lot. I like Graves a lot. I like Akori a lot. A lot of these guys went back to college, so it's kind of blending this in a little bit here. I think for the Lakers, I'm gonna end up taking. I just don't know if they need Dalen Swain next to Luca. They'll take Allen Graves. The three and
Ah,
D. They need 3 and D guys. I feel like that makes. He's still available at 25. They're gonna take him.
yeah, I can't hate on that pick. That's good. But now I got to find someone new for Denver at 26 because that's where I had Allen Graves going.
Yeah, yeah. 20. Denver was difficult too, man. I didn't really know what to do with Denver. I also threw another one of those bigs together for Denver.
I mean, yeah, because I guess you get Jokic to back up, but Valanciunas is there, so I guess I would probably go with Dalen Swain at this point. Is he expiring? That sounds about right. But I think I'd give them Dalen Swain. He's probably the best player left at this point. I think he's one of those guys. He can slot in with a good number of teams. I could see him fitting in well there, being on the receiving end of some Jokic assists.
I don't think he's a good fit with the Raptors, but I like him so much. If he's available at 26, we should like think about getting a trade for him because that's such a steal for Swain at 26 as well. I feel like
Yeah. All right.
that's fair enough. I would go Henry Vesar for them because again I think they just need one of those backup bigs that can put in minutes for Jokic whenever he gets off the floor and just goes down to hell immediately.
Yeah,
So
fair
then
enough.
what is this?
27
27
or
Celtics.
Celtics.
Who did I have? Because I'm gonna let you kind of make this pick. I had Isaiah Evans going to there because
Ah,
that's the right range, and he's a shooter and all that good
I would
stuff.
love if Isaiah Evans made it to the Celtics.
Yeah.
He
So
totally
instead,
could.
I'm gonna take Henry Vesar and not
Yeah, it's a
overthink
good pick.
this.
I've got a
Spacing,
fun one for you at 28 though.
spacing, big guy. Yeah. Henry Vesar. You go with the Celtics getting Henry Vesar?
Yeah, yeah, I don't mind too much. Depends on how Kata ends up developing over the offseason, what he looks like, and what we do with Vucevic, but I don't hate it. Uh, no, I have not. It looks kind of similar to the old one. Yeah. All right. 28. This actually might be one of the larger jumps. This and Isaiah Evans are kind of my two a little bit out there picks. But someone's got to move up. Yang Hansen moved up a crap ton in last year's draft, thanks to Rich
They're
Paul.
gonna happen.
So, with the 28th overall pick in the 2026 the open throne draft, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Richie Saunders out of BYU. Now,
Gosh,
hear me
really?
out. The Timberwolves, they're already a playoff team. They don't need a guy that's going to be like a home run, like franchise kind of player. They can take their time with a guy who's recovering from injury. But I think you have a prospect like Richie Saunders, a guy that can just knock down shots. I think you put someone like that next to Ant and the larger lineup they have, like with their front court, and I think he would be a really good fit for that team. And at this point, this is where you can take one of those more gambles of a pick.
I can't hate it a ton because I have a really similar role. I had Malik Thomas going because he's basically the
Yeah, that
same guy,
works too.
athletic.
But yeah, I really liked Richie Saunders before he got injured in February.
I understand. There's some stuff to like with him. I just again, I think it makes sense to kind of have like a someone to replace Dante's role until he comes back. I feel like Malik Thomas could do that too. He's a shoots a ton, play some defense, get him next to Ant. I feel like it makes sense a little bit too. We'll see what happens though. There's word that Giannis might go there as well, and who knows what that team looks like, right?
That'd be interesting.
So now with 29th pick, second to last pick in the first round, I had the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I originally had the Cavaliers. A Corey can't fall this far, right? This is so far
Anything's
for a Corey to
possible.
fall.
Just ask Kevin Garnett.
Man, I had Alice Caravan on my big board because I had a Corey going like 21 to the Pistons. We're now at 29. He's still available here. Do they need a Corey on that team? They already have small guards. They already have Schroeder off the bench, but he shouldn't be long term. I'm gonna take a Corey because he's too talented, and I don't see them having a backup guard on that team that is gonna be there.
Yeah, I had them taking Terrace Reed, but obviously he went earlier in our mock.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a. I mean, honestly, like, does this make sense? I feel
Yeah,
like
I
the
can
Cavs
see
are
it.
like a win now guy, and a Corey isn't that as much as I like him.
I mean, he's a more mature. I feel like for a 19-year-old, he's pretty mature. Like to be a freshman averaging like 23 points per game in the ACC as a 6'2" guard, that's kind of special.
It is. I also don't know if I can get out of this, so I guess I'm taking a Corey at 29 real
There we
quick.
go.
And then last pick of the first round, this is gonna be the last pick on June 29th here in 3 days. The Dallas Mavericks get the 30th overall pick. Who is that gonna be?
Alex Caravan. I feel like this is about the right range for him. He can knock down threes. He's a forward. He's a winning player. I think he comes in and he contributes.
I like that. I had him going 29. So I'm just gonna run this through again. We got Stabansi going 1. Boozer, I feel like is a surprise going 2, but again, Carlos is the guy making the decisions damn near. So not too big of a surprise in my opinion. Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, Keaton Wagler, Mikhail Brown, Darius Acuff, Ade Mara, Kingston Flemings, Braden Burries ran out the top 10. Yeah, Yaxel going to the Warriors win now. Merez Johnson, OKC scares me so bad. Green Lopez to the Heat. Isaiah Evans is definitely the biggest jump here, right?
Yep.
Besides maybe Bob Miller.
All my guys are making the big jumps. You got to swing somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Honest Steinbach here. Nathan Mint falling down to 16. That's not that crazy either, right? Like you could definitely see him falling this far in
Yeah.
in reality. Cameron Carr 17. That's so close to my Raptors. Quainance also staying, hoping, praying he stays healthy with the Hornets. Phylon following my Raptors. Koa Pete filling up that 4 for the Spurs. Christian Anderson, Sparker off the bench. Chris Sinak, Embiid minutes. Sturts, Baba Miller, Allen Graves, 3 and D. Swain, Denver. I like this, man. Visar, Saunders, Okori, and Caravan. This feels like a very good first round. I don't think there's anybody that I would have wanted to see else in here too. Like I'm not dying to see somebody like Zuby Ejiofor or Mari Allen if he's even still available.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a very solid first round. We should be proud of ourselves, frankly.
I am. This was so much fun to do. Who do you think? How about we do this then? Outside of the lottery, so cutting off here, who do you think is going to be the best player for the situation?
For the situation,
That's a yeah. Let me start by saying who think is gonna be the best player outside the lottery
best
when it's
player.
all said and done.
That's tough. I feel like, honestly, I feel like it's going to be some second rounder we're not expecting. And like one of those where it's like a Jokic or a Draymond Green. I feel like someone or a Jalen Brunson. I think it'll end up being someone of that caliber in the second round.
See,
Um,
I usually would at least be more willing to agree with you. My only concern is like I said this on another podcast too. With the NIL world we're living in, all of these guys that are kind of hidden gems, they can make a lot more money going
yeah,
back to
for
college
sure.
for NIL. So like it's like all of the guys you have in that second round they're already 24 years old. And not that you can't find a 24-year-old that becomes the best player outside the lottery, but it's probably a lot less unlikely, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if he stays healthy, I think Quaintance could end up being the best guy from that. But in terms of like you're saying, who ends up being the best fit for their team, I think Sanak with the 76ers, I think will be a very good fit.
Interesting. I really like Sturts to the Hawks, man. I talked about that a decent bit, but I think Sturts to the Hawks is just so consistent. They so badly need like a real primary ball handler that can make the decisions. Like something what Vit Krejci did a little bit over there, just
Yeah,
obviously more talent.
yeah, I could see that.
Boo, a Corey Fawn 20. Oh, what is the steal of the draft as well? That'll be the last thing I ask you about there.
The
What we got
steal of the
here.
draft. Not counting the second round guys. I feel like it could be Phylon. If he pans out the way everyone's expecting him to and he ends up falling like this, could definitely
Dude,
be a steal
that
candidate
would be sick. We need point guard play because quickly is not necessarily. I mean, we have Jamal Shed. If he hits a three, then we're doing really good. But undersized, got questions about that. So that could be awesome for us, man.
for sure.
And then go ahead and then I thought of one more thing too. Go ahead and put a curse on somebody. Who in the top 10 is gonna bust? Because or actually go ahead and list two people in the top 10 because that
Whoever
lets
gets
it.
drafted by the Nets and the Kings. I think because honestly, it's not just about them as franchises. I think they end up taking guard prospects. And when you have 5 to 6 guys that are all top guard prospects, not all of them are going to pan out. I mean, Peterson definitely has bust potential, but that's purely just based off of like the injury concerns and stuff like that. Um, and see where that goes. With the Kings and the Nets, if they do end up taking who we expect in terms of Mikhail Brown and Darius Acuff, I could very much see one of those players. Like I said, Mikhail Brown in my mind has the lowest floor, so I could see it being him. I don't really see it being Acuff. I could see it being like a Kingston Flemings, but one of the guards probably. There's always a guy in your top 5 or 10 that just doesn't pan out the way you're expecting.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree about the situation thing with somebody like the Kings. Like there's always little concerns just on what the system he's going into and how that affects his development and all that. I think Mikhail Brown is definitely the easiest pick to make, like we talked about before. And I also think Peterson is probably the closest like top four guy to most bust potential there too.
Yeah,
Right.
I think honestly, the bust potential in this draft will come down to gets injured and who stays healthy, as opposed to whose game won't translate.
Well, in that case, then you would expect Darren Peterson to be guy number one,
Yeah,
probably, right?
exactly.
That makes sense. All right. Well, that was all we have for today's episode, man. First mock draft I've ever done. This was so much fun. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm really excited to see how the actual draft happens in a couple of days. It's gonna be exciting to see Wizards take first. Do you hope that they trade the pick? Yes or no?
No,
Okay.
I want them to keep the pick, and I want us to get our guy.
But you would be really happy if you got AJ at number 2, though.
I would still be happy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I trust our front office to make the right decision. I trust my boys in DC.
Fair enough. All right. That's all we had. Thank you for coming on, man. I'll see you later.